I've yeah, and I've got I've got my Audacity going just in case. We'll start a sync test just for shits and giggles.
Oh, we forgot to hit record on my end.
On the Audacity? On Skype.
On Skype.
Oh. Is your Audacity going at least? We can save that.
My Audacity's been going the whole time.
Oh, that's
although
good.
it doesn't seem to be reacting.
Uh-oh.
Is your Audacity going?
It is. It's picking up waves and noises.
Okay, so we're in mostly the clear. It wouldn't be Skype without something weird happening.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so one of my favorite videos that I've done is it's about 50-some minutes long where I talk about, so I've been wanting to go to Flashback Weekend, this horror con in Chicago, for a couple of years.
Sure thing.
And I kind of had a way there, but they weren't really sure if they could do it, so it was kind of like a I'll let you know when we go sort of thing, and of course they didn't. So I was not gonna go. And then I was like, like, I can get there on the bus, I can get back the same day.
Yeah.
The bus is about as much as I was gonna pay them. You know what? Yeah, let's just go. So I went to Flashback Weekend on the bus, and it turned into kind of a fiasco.
Oh, no.
But overall, despite it being very expensive and kind of wiping out my credit card balance, like, I ended up having a pretty amazing time. So I got to meet a lot of people that I never thought I would see in real life. And it was kind of wonderful. The $300 hotel room I had to get was the main issue.
That would
Robert,
certainly set you back.
And Robert Englund being $100 was also an ugly surprise. I thought he did like 8 years. I thought it'd be like 60 or 80, or like, I knew it was high. I didn't know it was that high.
Like to see him or to get something signed by him?
To get something signed by him.
Alright, I was just to like be in a room with him, like, jeez.
Well, you couldn't get a photo with him unless you paid like a separate. It was like $100 for just an autograph. It was something like $125 for like a picture with him. It was madness. I don't know if the picture actually included the autograph, but the way things were priced, probably not.
I tried to email him recently for an interview, and I think I accidentally signed up for a Robert Englund newsletter.
Well, I mean, could be worse. At least you didn't buy some random $100 thing.
Oh yeah. Well, like, I checked my emails, and it's like, oh, I got an email back from Robert Englund. I'm like, oh great, and I open it, and it's like, check out these Freddy Krueger Valentine's cards. I'm like, oh shit.
It's like, yes, he responded. Oh, this is his store mailer. Damn it.
Oh, it's automated.
It's like, at the very least, though, he was ultra awesome, and I only embarrassed myself slightly. Like, he mentioned something about detective noir movies, and my brain panicked because it's like, I've seen exactly one detective noir movie. And it's like, oh, crap, what was it called? The detective. He's gonna think you made that up. Damn! It's like, who was in it? Somebody famous was the main guy. Crap. What was his stage? I remember his stage name. I don't remember his actual name. Humphrey Bogart. Crap. It's like, the answer was Frank Sinatra, but I was like visibly panicking. It's like, I don't think I've ever even heard Frank Sinatra freaking sing. So,
have you heard of the band The Avalanches?
Nope.
They make these really interesting songs where it's not remixes of existing songs, but it's songs made out of like sounds from movies and whatnot. And they made a song called Frankie Sinatra that has nothing to do with Frank Sinatra.
like, there's something, I'm thinking of something that was like that. There's some synthwave song called Chevy Chase, and it's just like techno music, and it has nothing to do with Chevy Chase. But it sounds really cool, so that makes me think of that. But yeah, anyway, he was pretty cool, and so meeting him was really nice. It was just kind of the very last of my money.
Yeah.
Like I went over to Heather Langenkamp's table because it was nearby, and I needed like the thing to draw. I had him sign this issue of Cinefantastique that I found at one of my first conventions. Eventually, I started realizing, hey, I can go to conventions for things. It's just there was never a horror one reasonably nearby. Like there's like a comic thing here. There's like a comic thing here that happens somewhat infrequently. There are anime conventions like C2E2. I'd found ways to go to that and Wizard World, but I'd never been able to go to a real horror convention. But anyway, so I went over to Heather Langenkamp's table to like cool down, and I was like, and she was like, "Oh, do you want me to sign that?" And it's like, well, it'd be nice, but Robert Englund cleaned me out. And it's like, oh, he cleaned you out, huh? Yeah.
He's spendy.
But I talked to her a little bit about, she does effects now with her husband, and they were talking about doing the effects for the new season of American Horror Story, which comes out this week. So, yeah, their contact info was a little fuzzy, but I think I could maybe talk to them at some point, because I think that would be fun. You know, one thing I like doing, one idea that I really like is getting a hold of people that are involved in horror. You know, they write, they act, they do whatever, but, you know, talk to them about something that they don't get to talk about a whole lot. So, because as soon as Heather heard me, like, interested in the effects, it's like she perked right up. It's like, oh yeah, I did that. You know, and because this is after, I'm sure, a full day of, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street questions, which I wish I'd had the presence of mind to ask what I really wanted to ask Robert and Heather. It's like, do you think you've heard every possible dream pun in the English language, and how much do you hate them?
I think the question I'd have for Robert Englund is, how many times do you think you said bitch on camera? It's like the sum total.
I would say several thousand.
Yeah. So I've had a question for you here. So you, you know, like me, you wear a mask on YouTube. You're one of the masked people on this platform. Where did you get yours?
I got mine from this guy on Etsy. I think it's Creep in the Attic Effects by Devin Wemple. So the one that I actually have a couple different ones. So the one on my YouTube, like the kind of greenish one, that one was made by Devin Wemple, Creep in the Attic Effects, and it's fiberglass. It was not cheap, oh my god, but it is spectacular. Like, it's got like good weight, like it's pretty durable, and it photographs like amazing. Like, I love it so much. Like, it's kind of a combination of the old NES Jason mask, you know, with the coloring, and then the mask model itself is Savini Jason from the newer Friday the 13th video game. So it's kind of like the two bookends together. And then my other mask, which I think you can see in some videos, because I do switch which one I wear sometimes. It's a similar design, except it's more heavy on the retro aspects of it. It's still the Savini Jason, but that's made of Pet G. And that was done by, I think it's called King Effects. Heath King's he's in some of the horror groups that I'm in on Facebook. So I ended up kind of with two, because it was like, well, who can get this to me like in time for Halloween? So I kind of ordered them both at the same time. And the Wemple mask came faster. But not by a whole lot, so it's sort of funny. Like, I I really should wear the Pet G mask more, but the Pet G is a little light. Like, I really like the weight of the fiberglass. However, the Pet G one does have way better straps, so they each have their own pros and cons. Oh, and the plastic one glows in the dark, but kind of need a strong light for that.
Yeah. Well, when I talked to Jason Takes Omegle, he pointed me towards this website where it's nothing but fiberglass masks.
Yeah, I heard of them. I think isn't it just like, is it literally just fiberglass masks? It's like, it's to the point. Yeah, theirs are pricey. They're nice, but woo.
Well, the problem I had, I mean, before he brought that up to me, I didn't know exactly where to look for masks, so I'd go out and look for myself. I'd go to, Spirits Halloween or Party City and try to find something. And when he pointed out fiberglass masks to me, and it has all of the masks I've been looking for.
Yeah, they're just quite high.
Oh yeah.
They're like, what, 180 on there?
But they have a clearance section here though.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Let's see, 99 or $75. You can get a Jason X mask with strap.
The Uber Jason mask, or the one from
the beginning of the film?
Okay, pre-Uber.
Yeah. And I really like the shape of that one.
The Uber Jason mask is a hell of a nice mask, but difficult to piece together for sure. Cavity Colors. Cavity Colors has a Jason X design like just for this weekend for like shirts and stuff. Like I bought a hoodie, although it was astronomically expensive.
What's it called? Cavity Colors?
Yeah, cavitycolors.com.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, check them out. I can send you a link a little bit too, I think.
Oh, I found it just here now, because right when you said it, I'm like, Cavity Colors.
Yeah. They have this buy or die thing that they do where it's like the design is only available for 3 days, and then it just goes away. Been quite a few things that I couldn't necessarily afford at the time that it was like, well, I know I want this later. Like,
I know exactly how that feels.
I'll complain. I'm complaining now, but I'm sure I'll love it when it comes. So I got the design like with the hoodie on a hoodie. So I've been wearing more hoodies lately.
I mean, I'm not on camera much on my channel, but when I am, I'm usually in a hoodie.
I like any excuse to like wear something crazy. So I try to have fun with it. Like I usually, if I'm feeling lazy, I'll just put on like the mask and then whatever I have on at the time. But sometimes I'll put on like an actual costume. The only reason I don't wear like my Michael Myers and Leatherface masks is because they don't have open mouths and it can be kind of hard for the mic to pick me up. But I think I'm gonna be able to start doing that pretty soon. So.
Do you use a lapel mic or like a room mic?
I have one of those Blue Yeti mics.
Okay.
I found a like microphone stand that fits it. I literally found it in the dumpster when I was taking out the trash. I live in kind of a big apartment building, and sometimes there'll just be like useful stuff like by the dumpster that people will ditch, and it's like, wow, this is surprisingly nice. I think that's where I got my dresser. It's just like, why is this out here?
I thought I was the only one who did that.
Oh no, well, part of the collecting thing is, I've always had to be a scavenger of some kind.
Sure.
So, especially, like, I used to, before I moved to where I am now, a lot of my income came from, like, I'd go to Goodwill, I'd try to find stuff that, I could sell for, $2 or $3 more. Like, the margins were so poor, and it was horrible. So I'm used to having to do that, and a lot of the stuff I've been picking up over the last couple of years is stuff that, like, I've caught myself still doing it. Like, I still buy stuff to, like, flip or resell. I've just been way too busy/lazy to actually post anything. So on some of my videos, if you can see like this big shelf of like masks on top of it, kind of near me, that's all stuff for eBay.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm a collector of sorts as well. Not horror specifically, but I do collect like older like action figures and stuff that I find. Like, I live next to a bunch of pawn shops that do not know how much certain things in their own stock cost.
Nice.
Like, I found a in the box near mint condition Star Trek: The Next Generation figure of have you seen Star Trek TNG?
There's a handful of cultural things that just completely pass me by, and Star Trek in general was one of them.
I'm not, a huge Trekkie. I don't have a Klingon, maze around here. But there's this one specific character I like, and then there's like a kind of a weird second character, and his name is Q. And I found the action figure of Q.
I do know a little bit about TNG just from jokes. I used to listen to a podcast called The Drunken Peasants before they started to suck. And they would make a lot of like Star Trek jokes. So Q is like the Ferengi, right?
Q is. Oh, I think you're thinking of oh god, what's his name? It's no, that's Total Recall. I'm thinking Quado, but it's not Quado.
Oh, Quark? Did I get Q mixed with Quark?
Yeah.
I totally got Q mixed with Quark, didn't I? Sorry, Star Trek guys.
Sorry, Trekkies, or, I mean, whoever knows Star Trek listening to this right now.
I hold no actual ill will towards, like, the Star Trek people.
Unless you watch Discovery, then fuck you. No.
Well, I know. I thought I saw like the remake one in like 2009, and I was like, yeah, this is okay, I guess.
Well, it's not the films, but that new TV show on CBS All Access.
Oh, isn't it behind like a ridiculous paywall? Like you have to basically buy it.
Yeah, you have to do a subscription service just to watch it.
And the subscription service only has one show of value, being Star Trek Discovery.
Yep, but the thing is, so the entirety of the idea of Star Trek is to keep with the Prime Directive, which is like, don't interfere with planets that are going their natural course. So like, if a planet's doomed to explode, you can't really do anything about that. But the thing is, a lot of times that deal gets thrown out the window, especially if it's like a more civilized society.
Like in Discovery, they'll just be like, we're not supposed to interfere, but we're gonna do it.
Well, in Discovery, they're just like, oh look, there's a alien ship. Maybe like in TNG and the original series, they'd be like, let's try to communicate with them first and see what they want. But then Discovery, it's like, blow them up. Just fuck kill them.
So they finally jazzed it up a little, huh?
But like my dad's a huge fan of that show, and so he like for years he was like, hey look, they're doing like a marathon of Star Trek on like CBS. You should go watch it right now. I don't know, maybe later. And then now it's all on Netflix, and I sat down and started watching it. I'm like, man, I really like this, actually.
Well, I mean, could be worse.
Also, for action figures, are you familiar with the Kenner line for like Predator and Alien toys?
Oh yeah, that's kind of the first thing I really started collecting. I used to collect the Kenner Alien figures with my dad. That sort of leads to the interesting childhood I had. So, because there were some things that there were some horror movies that I could see because my parents didn't necessarily realize what they were.
Oh yeah.
So they actually let me rent Alien when I was like 3 or 4 and watch it by myself because there were toys, and so they thought it was just like a kid thing. Which, I handled it pretty fine, except for, like, Ash's head coming off, like, freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, I was like 3 or 4. I loved the creature, though, and I always have.
So. You know American Psycho with Christian Bale, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
So you know, you know what's in that movie. So when I was like, I think it was like 12 or 13, it was when Blockbuster was still around, like just at like the tail end of its existence. But me and my parents are like, let's go rent a movie tonight. Let's go. Like I just got into scary movies, but it was like very base level, like Friday the 13th. Kind of just like, oh look, there he is, stab. And so we go in, and I'm walking through the horror section. I'm like, oh, this movie looks interesting. It's got, Christian Bale on it. I know him from certain things. I don't think Batman had come out. I think Batman Begins had come out by that point. And I'm like, oh, look, this guy plays Batman. And my dad's like, oh, I haven't seen this movie. He's like, here, you can rent it. He goes, well, it's like, me and your stepmom are gonna rent our own movie, and we'll watch that. And you can watch your movie in your room. I'm like, sure, why not? And I sit down and watch American Psycho, and yeah. And I, like, after my dad's like, all right, we gotta return the movies, and I walk out and I hand him the DVD, and he goes, how's the movie? I'm like, if you had seen this before we rented this, you wouldn't have let me see this movie.
Like, you had no idea what this was.
Yeah, I'm like, you had zero clue what was going on, and this, like, oh my god.
That reminds me of one time, like, I saw the Animal Farm adaptation on TV, and at first I was like, yeah, this is fun, and then, it's Animal Farm, and I was like, oh my god, this is the most depressing thing I've ever seen. And then there was one time, like, Mom was like, look what I found at Goodwill, this looks like a fun movie, and it was Animal Farm, and it's like, you have no idea how sad that movie gets, do you? Because she literally thought it was like a Disney, babe kind of thing, and it's like, oh.
What do you mean it's not for kids? And they're just like, communism, Mom. It's about communism.
Well, I think technically Stalinism, but meh. Either way, it's not a fun time. But like, I actually felt bad for her. Like, my mom is kind of a bad person in a lot of ways, but that time I felt really bad for her because she seemed so disappointed that it wasn't just like some lighthearted comedy.
Yeah, like she clearly tried. But like, it's just like,
she would do that sometimes. Like, I think the best she ever did was like one morning in high school, I'm like getting ready to go to school, and I have a CD player at this time, and she's like, oh, I got this at Goodwill for you the other day. What do you think? And it's White Zombie's Astro Creep 2000, and it's like, how did, like, she knew I was just starting to get into music. I think I had like 3 CDs, and like the last one I bought was like a Rob Zombie CD. So I think she just saw like Zombie, and it's like one of my favorite albums ever. Like, I think I still have it somewhere. So I think it might be my favorite thing that she's ever bought me. It's like, wow, you actually listened to me and put thought into it. Holy crap.
My dad is I wouldn't say not conservative in the political sense, but like just very
in the bad sense.
No, just like very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not repressed. Like if there's, like, when I was a kid, if there was something like offensive on TV, he was like, oh, change the channel, all right, oh no, like even if it was a movie, it's like, all right, you gotta change the channel. You didn't see nothing. But
my mom was like that. My dad was totally opposite, though. Strange.
Well, my dad would treat movies and music like contraband, but not in the sense of like, oh, I found this, I'm taking it away. It's like he would look around and go, hey, what? He was like, you want to watch? He was still looking around the house. He's like, you want to watch Freddy vs. Jason? I'm like, sure. Why not?
I got a little lucky on that. Like, I had cable in my room, like starting in high school, and so my almost entire experience with horror before 2012 was just whatever would come onto Sci-Fi Channel or sometimes Spike. So a lot of monster movies.
Oh god, Sci-Fi Channel monster movies. Yeah.
A lot of them turn out to be. A lot of them are okay. I will defend Sci-Fi.
Well, like, there was one I saw that was like, it was some vague, like, sci-fi original called, like, The Experiment or something. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And I hit the button to go to Sci-Fi Channel. And it's this, like, big, buff dude that's dressed like a monster, and he's sprinting around like the Flash, and as he's running by people, their heads are just exploding. I'm like, alright, maybe not my thing. And then I backed out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I still haven't followed up and tried to figure out what it was about, but
I saw Freddy vs. Jason on Sci-Fi, and I think it was the first time I'd ever seen. I'm pretty sure it was the first time I'd ever seen Freddy at all. Like, I think that was my introduction to Freddy. And then I had either recently seen. Or it was only a few weeks away from like one of the Spike TV, when that was a thing, used to do Friday the 13th marathons.
Oh yeah.
And my dad had the first 5 Fridays on beta. Like they were still sealed and stuff. Like he didn't like watch them, but like
God, yeah.
I would get like warnings from my mom's like, never watch them. They're the worst. They're so evil and bloody and rare.
Those movies will rot your brain.
Kinda, yeah. And so they were gonna be gone for a while. Cause like I was a pretty repressed person, so I was still kind of afraid to watch them, even though it was all the way upstairs.
Yeah.
Like on my TV, because they would just like pop up into my room to like mess with me, especially my mom. Like my mom would like surprise me. It's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like,
I know that exact feeling. Yeah.
It's like, why is your door locked? Kicks it in. Anyway, so I sat down to watch one of those marathons either a couple weeks before I saw Freddy vs. Jason or a few weeks after, thinking, it's like, okay, I don't know what to expect. And it's part 8. So the first Friday movie I saw was part 8. And it's like, wow, these effects look really phony. And I was laughing, and I was having a good time. It's like, these movies are awesome. This is great.
So, I've noticed a couple of them on your channel, but my mom used to collect those Movie Maniacs figures.
Your mom collected those?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
My mom's the hardcore one in the family. She's got a table full of skulls. I'll have to send you a photo of it sometime.
Nice. Oh, that's some good taste. Those are some of the... For a really long time before NECA was, like, really starting to kill it, those were, like, the best figures you could get. I think I have almost all the ones that I want at this point.
Well,
quite a few of them.
She was picking them up, like, as they were coming out, because I was still, like, a little kid.
I wish I'd been able to do that.
But we lived in this house where she, like I do with my action figures that are in boxes now, I kind of hang them up with thumbtacks everywhere. She hung up one that was the Freddy Krueger one, which comes with that tiny Freddy.
Like the puppet from part 3?
Yeah. And the backboard of the box is a picture of like Freddy like screaming. Yeah, it's just like and there's this thing I'm like still weirds me out even to this day where I have a thing against people staring at me. And like if I'm talking to somebody one-on-one and they're looking at me, that's totally fine. But if I'm on the bus and I look over and there's a guy just not blinking and staring directly at me, then I get weirded out. And like with that Freddy like figure, she put that up in the living room, and so I just sit on the couch and just like Every once in a while, I'd look over and see that Freddy face, just like, ah, and like look back at the TV. I'm like, all right, it's just a toy. Ah.
It's like the clown bed from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Just look at the happy clown. Can't sleep. Clown will eat me.
But as the years have rolled on, my mom's like, hey, do you want some of these figures? And
yes.
I'm like, sure thing. As I'm like 7, I'm like, sure, I guess. These are interesting action figures. And she hands me like the Michael Myers one.
Oh.
And it's the really simple one that it's just Michael
him
Myers.
with the pumpkin.
Yeah, him with the pumpkin and the knife. And she's like, don't lose any of this. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Oh my god.
I'm like, because we live in an apartment with a shag carpeting, I'm pretty sure this knife is going to vanish. And somehow, some way, all of these years later, I still have the pumpkin.
Well, that's something. It's like some of the Movie Maniacs line are like incredibly valuable now. Like, I think Michael Myers like tops it out.
I'll have to dust off the tiny pumpkin, see if I can't just sell that by itself.
Well, when I was first starting to collect the figures, Michael Myers was like 60-some by himself, like still on the card, and I think he's actually 75, 80 now.
That reminds me. Do you remember the Ash Williams figure that was like 1.5 feet tall and it came with the chainsaw and the shotgun and everything? It was like Army of Darkness.
It was like the big ones that NECA did for a while, right?
Yeah, but it was like way back there, like 2000.
I don't know if I ever saw that one.
It might be McFarlane Toys. I can't remember. All I know is I have one, and I completely forgot I had it until I like looked back towards my closet and I could see part of his foot sticking out. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's been like 10, 13 years now, and his batteries that we put in all that time ago still work.
Wow. There's I think the only big figure I have like that is I found NECA's like 18-inch Patrick Bateman. Since we were talking about American Psycho, I found like the giant American Psycho figure.
Nice.
With all its stuff, and it was $45 at half price. Like
did
half
it
price
come with
books.
Paul Allen's card?
It did not. He came with a briefcase, a bunch of knives, an axe, and his batteries still work. But it was kind of amazing because like whenever I'm about to buy something I find used, like I double check. It's like, okay, is it actually cheaper online? Like, how bad will I feel if I leave this here? And it was like $190 on eBay. It's like, okay, this is coming to me.
And it's mine. The Ash figure. Oh wait, that was earlier. That was like 2002. Oh my god, I remember. Yeah, because so my family moved house in like 2003, and we were packing everything up, and so that giant Ash figure came with the robotic army makes in Army of Darkness. Like it comes with like a hand replacement with like a peg that you can just like screw into his wrist.
Oh, okay. I like the alternate hand, kind of like the Ultimate figures.
Yeah, and like I remember it clearly because like we were packing up and my dad's like, all right, let's put the Ash figure back in the box. Let's see, we got the chainsaw, we got the shotgun. Where's the hand? And I'm like, I don't know. They just, where's the hand, man? He's like, It's like, I paid a lot of money. It's like, where'd it go? Never found it.
Oh, I would be pissed.
I think he was for a long time.
I have, my approach to collecting is kind of dragon-like. Like, if it's valuable, I want it. Which is a very bad way to live, honestly. But that's where some of my better stuff I think has come from. It's like, ooh, it's like I haven't seen this movie yet, but this is $10 and I know it's a lot more on eBay.
Well,
No.
a lot of my collecting shopping is through nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because like over the years, there was like a sort of a mass exodus of my toys, but a lot of them I know were more valuable now. And so when I go to like CD Game Exchange or somewhere and I look over, I'm like, oh my god, there's a copy of like Evil Dead Hail to the King for PS1. I'm getting that.
That wasn't. I'm trying to remember. There were an awful lot more Evil Dead games than I thought there were.
Yep. Three
And
main
I think
ones.
I have at least one. I think Fistful of Boomstick is the one I have, but
That
I
one's
occasionally
great.
see the other ones around.
Like all three of them are great because they have this weird natural like transition of genre between each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like the first one is clearly like a Resident Evil clone, and it's, you know, you gotta watch how much gas you have or how many shells you got, and it's very much like solve the puzzle, get to the next area. But then you play Fistful of Boomstick and it's action with RPG elements.
Ooh.
It's like, oh, I need key to open door, and that's it. You don't have to fucking fashion the key out of something and then work from there.
Oh, with
But
some of these retro games, I just watched playthroughs since I didn't have a way to actually play through them. I should maybe revisit that because I didn't remember specifics of that game.
Like, well, it's funny because Fistful of Boomstick was supposed to be a direct continuation of Hail to the King, but certain aspects got changed when I think just different directors started showing up.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, if I remember, the original game was, so Hail to the King ends with the Necronomicon getting into the hands of like publishers, like book publishers, and so they just like mass produce it and then sell it.
Uh-oh.
And then it ends with Ash just losing his mind in the middle of the street and out in Dearborn, Michigan. And the follow-up game Fistful of Boomstick was supposed to take place like the minute that happens. You're in the street and deadites are coming like out of the sky.
They're in my butt. Help.
Yep. But then when it comes out, they changed it around a little bit, so there's actually a little bit of a better reason for him to be just wrecking people in the middle of the road. And it's because he's like drinking his sorrows away in a local bar in Dearborn, and he's telling the bartender about Evil Dead 1 and 2 and Army of Darkness. Nobody believes him.
Classic Ash.
He's like, man, I even went back in time. I was a hero. And the bartender's like, sure, pal, as he's pouring a drink. And then the news story is on, and he looks up, and they're like, we found the cabin in the woods belonging to Professor Nobi. He's like, wait.
Ah, crap.
He's like, wait, no. And it's like, here we have a live recording. It's that tape recorder from part 1. Like, they're like, check this out. And they hit the thing. He's like, no, you fools, turn it off. And you see like a huge like hell tornado come down over the news studio. And so it just wipes out like half the town instantaneously and possesses them.
And Ash is just like exasperated, like
It's just, oh, come on. And like he walks outside, he's like nobody fucking listens to me, and then this happens.
It makes me this makes me think of like The Incredibles. Like, remember the kind of the prologue of The Incredibles where Mr. Incredible's doing the interview, and he's like, you know, sometimes I just feel like the maid, you know, why can't it just stay saved?
Just cleaned up the place. Can you leave it alone for like 10 minutes?
Yeah. And I feel like Ash has probably got the same kind of feeling
Well,
for a while. I should have asked Bruce Will. I should ask Bruce Campbell about it.
Hmm.
I met him at Flashback too, although he was that was kind of a not so great thing because it's like
Was he being a dick?
he just seemed kind of not into it. Like it was so weird. So I had bombed out on getting to Robert Englund's line in time on the first day, and so I was just kind of wandering around. And there are these guys like outside the door, and I was like, "Hey, what's in here?" And it's like Bruce Campbell. He's about to leave. Do you want to meet Bruce Campbell? Yes or no? Answer right now. Yes.
Yeah.
It's $50. Do you have $50? I think. And so I was basically pushed through this room. And it's like, oh, there he is. It's like, here you go, kid. Yeah. I wish I could think of something smart to say. It's never a problem for me. All right, bye. Like, what? And he was I just kind of stood there, like, looking bewildered, and he was gone, like, so fast.
Just checked out.
Like, well, I think he had something to do, like, he was going to, like, a panel or something, but at the same time, it was kind of like, what
Well,
happened?
I can half understand that because I feel like the entire convention, at least for him, would be just people like, what's there gonna be in new Evil Dead movies? Ash vs. Evil Dead season 4 happening? What's that happening, huh?
Just, like, stupid questions, like, galore.
I think after a couple hours of that, he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna go. I'm done.
Well, I mean, I can certainly understand that. Sam Raimi was there, and I actually had no idea what Sam Raimi looked like.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I had never even seen, I had seen him in extras, like, on Blu-rays and, like, other movies and stuff, like,
Sure.
so I'd seen him before, I just had no memory whatsoever of what he looked like. And so they were doing a thing, and at his table he had, like, a huge poster for this movie called Crawl that I super badly want to do some videos and reviews on.
Yeah.
And so at the Q&A, it's like, I just wanted to ask questions about Crawl. It's like, hey, how involved were you with that? You know, are there going to be more, like, reptile monster movies in the future?
Were you one of the crocodiles? Was that you?
No, I wasn't. Well, I like to think I have some dignity. I was going to be that dumb. But yeah, I just wanted to ask something like that. And they didn't get to me in the Q&A. And then as everybody was leaving the Q&A, he actually came out of the room, like, right next to me. And I was like, man, I just wanted to ask him stuff about Crawl. And he stopped and, like, looked at me, like, waiting for me to ask him a question. And I was like, wait. Oh, it's you! And I just totally froze, and his handlers, like, shooed him away. And it was like,
You're the guy!
No!
Wait!
So it's like, I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said I came to horrors, like, so much later in life. Like, I think my first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, if you don't count Freddy vs. Jason, was the remake. So I hadn't seen Robert Englund Freddy, like, in his own movie. Like, I saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street in 2012. So it's sort of funny, like, listening to some of these interviews. It's like, oh yeah, you know, Freddy scared the hell out of me, and it's like, I've never been scared of Freddy. It's like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. There's a lot of jump scares.
It's like, ah, cool. He's telling jokes. This is great. Wait, he's supposed to be scary? What?
Telling jokes?
Like, I'm so used to seeing. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm so used to seeing Freddy just everywhere all the time that I forget that the dream thing is, like, part of it. It's like, he can only get you in your dreams.
Yeah.
Like, and? Oh, right.
What do you mean only in my dreams? Oh, yeah.
Just pull him out of the thing and just beat his ass.
Well, I was actually...
Movie, but... Yeah?
I was having an argument with my brother the other day about that, because he's been stoking this argument of, like, which one's better, Predator or Alien? And then I say Predator, and then, like, my mom says Alien.
Well, I would also say Alien.
But then, like, we're, like, standing in Spirits Halloween, my brother goes, all right, who's better, Freddy or Jason? I go, oh, I like Jason more. And then my mom goes, well, I like Freddy more. I'm like, but Like if you pull Freddy out of the dream, he's just a burn victim then.
He's just a dude.
Yeah, he's just a regular burn victim that you can kick the shit out of, but Jason is nigh unstoppable.
Although I don't know, they made him really tough in Freddy vs. Jason. It's like, wow, suddenly he's like Ninja Freddy. It's like
he's doing elbow drops.
It's like, you are much more athletic than I realized.
Man, you can jump really high. I want to, like, the thing is, a lot of people give that movie guff, Freddy vs. Jason. And, like, the main fight at the end is, in certain parts, a little silly. But I thoroughly enjoy the last, like when they're on the dock and it just gets to them just kicking the shit out of each other back and forth.
It's like, how have you both not died yet?
Yeah, but it's like, it's not even like, oh, like early in the fight where somebody gets hit, they go flying 30 feet and slam into something. They're just slashing at each other with their weapons.
You know, for the longest time I thought, like, Freddy vs. Jason was a lot better than people gave it credit for, but, like, I watched it right when I got back from the convention, and it was kind of like it had been dispelled a little bit. It's like, you know, this isn't quite as good as I remember, which is weird, because it used to be, like, my favorite, like, feel-good movie. It's like, if I was, like, bummed or whatever, like, I would just put that on, but I think I was just so saddened by how expensive that ended up being.
My favorite Friday the 13th film is Part 8, but like, strictly because, like, see, the thing is, like, the idea of something being completely unstoppable is terrifying to me, at least. And so when you see Jason standing in the middle of Times Square, I'm like, everybody needs to get the fuck out of there now.
Well, my sort of, you know, what scares me philosophy is, well, there's a line from Gremlins 2 that kind of syncs it up. It's like, you know, people that are up at 3 a.m. aren't scared of the Wolfman. The only thing that scares those people is finding a job.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like that. I mean, I think the last thing that really scared me was, oh geez, the Candle Cove Channel Zero. Like, the creatures in that were fucked. Oh my god. Like, I think I actually got a nightmare from the skeleton in Candle Cove. Channel Zero is like an anthology that's like, each season is like a different, like, creepypasta, and they did the Candle Cove, like, the Candle Cove, like, pirate one. Like, oh my god, it was so good. I still need to see the other seasons, because life got incredibly busy after the first season concluded. But it was, like, so creepy. Like, it impressed me so much.
It's been a while since I've seen something so, like, viscerally horrifying that my head just tried to retreat into my torso. And it was that, I don't know what it is, but it looks like it is entirely made out of teeth.
The Tooth Child? Oh yeah, the Tooth Child's great.
I'm staring at a high-res image of it, and I just, like, oh.
It's Bravery Cave. You have to go inside. No, get away.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Get lost, puppet demon.
I'm set. I'm good. Well, when you said Candle Cove, I remember reading the original story, and then I used to be into creepypastas, but then they all slowly started to turn into the same thing.
My friend was my roommate that I had for a while, like, he was a lot more online than me, and so he would share them with me, like, cause, you know, we would get bored pretty easily, pretty fast, a lot of the times, and so, you know, he'd just, like, read random stuff that he found online. And one of the ones he did read me was Candle Cove, so that's how I knew about it. And I think one thing that impressed me so much with the series was how they took, this like 2 or 3 paragraph short story and expanded it like so well, like in a way that made sense and made it even creepier. Like, I think that's what I really appreciate, like creativity in writing, or at least when they can do something like I don't expect or that I haven't seen before. Because at this point, I've seen an awful lot. Like it is hard to get to me. Like another series that kind of did that was Slasher, which is on Netflix. So Slasher was
is that good?
Fun. I was really impressed with it. So I saw it for the first time this past summer, like in June, I think. So each season is like a different storyline. And the first season really impressed me, and then it just kept getting better and better. Like first season has a few. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. So the writing is really good in season 1, but it's still a little rough.
Sure.
And then, because there are some moments towards the end, it's like, wait, that's the killer's motivation. Okay, like it's done well enough that you buy it anyway, but it's still kind of like, I don't know. Which they managed to fix pretty quickly in seasons 2 and 3 are much better. I think I like season 2 the most, which is called. Each season has like its own name. There's season 1 is The Executioner, season 2 is Guilty Party, and season 3 is Solstice. And I like all of them quite a bit, but I think Guilty Party had kind of the most. I hesitate to say fun, but fun plotline. Because one of the things a slasher is, the victims die incredibly brutal deaths, almost totally on camera too. Like they don't shy away from anything.
Yeah.
Like the whole series is like very raw and merciless. But the people that die kind of deserve it to some degree in most cases. Because it's like
they're not great people.
Right, like you'll see, like in you'll see in season 1, it's like somebody is, poisoned and like they die an excruciating death, and then the next episode when they're investigating, it's like, okay, well, who would want to kill them? And you find out like that they were like just a total piece of shit, and it's like, oh yeah, fuck that guy.
Oh, most people would.
Or some people did things that were kind of like less severe. Like there's I guess this is a fairly mild spoiler for season 1 of Slasher. A lot of incidents in the town kind of revolve around the disappearance of like this 15-year-old girl that happened 5 years ago in the continuity.
Sure thing.
And a lot of the victims have some involvement with that. Like, some of it so much as like, these people could have given her a ride home, but they were really tired and they decided not to.
So is it like the idea that everybody is in a roundabout way guilty?
To an extent. So some people did like totally different things. Like I don't want to spoil too much of it.
Sure.
But it ends up being pretty impressive. Like I especially okay, I guess yet another spoiler. Like when they do find out who the killer is, like the killer delivers like this whole long, this is why I'm doing it, for you. And like our main character, like I'm trying to figure out how to do this without giving away too much. Well, like they get the killer like incapacitated. And they're like twisting a knife into them, and it's like, I don't remember, I want you to listen to me. I don't remember meeting you. You know what I do remember? And then like they say like one of the relationships that the killer had with like one of the victims. Like, I remember how much so and so cared about you. They trusted you. Stab. And it's like, damn. Like,
oof.
I was almost crying. It was like so intense. It's like, oh my god. It's like, yeah, fuck him up, but
get him, but ow.
It's like, oh man, it was just freaking amazing. And all 3 seasons, I failed to guess who the killer was. Like, they did such a good job of concealing it, like, that I didn't see it coming. And the one where I was actually closest, I was still wrong. On a technical level, but still wrong.
Have you seen the MTV Scream series?
That's on my list. That's something I'm probably going to start watching. I heard the 3rd season of it is really awful.
The first 2 are also awful.
Ouch.
Because you can, like, in season 1, you can see where everybody's character arcs are going. Just not even through, like, audio. You just look at the character like, you're gonna do this. There's no way you're not gonna do this.
That paint by numbers, huh?
And, like, it got to a point where when a character showed up, like, they're like, hi, my name is blank. I'm like, you're the killer. Like, there's no fucking way you're not. Like, this is bullshit. And then, like, not season 1, but season 2, they're like, haha, I'm the killer. I'm like, I fucking knew it.
It's like, oh, how could we have known? It was this character who appears in the last episode.
Who could have possibly guessed except for me?
Jack the Ripper was our uncle who just arrived from England. What?
Our Uncle Jack, and he really likes prostitutes.
That was a thing from Gotham by Gaslight, like in the original comic.
Oh, yeah.
When they adapted it into one of their animated movies, and those are usually really good. Like, and Gotham by Gaslight, I think, was one of my favorite ones that they've put out in the last couple of years. But they changed who it was because, so the collector edition I got of it came with the comic, and it's literally like, you know, oh, I'm Bruce Wayne. Welcome, Uncle whatever the fuck from England. You know, so great that you're visiting here for the first time. And then the murders start, like, right after you don't see him anymore. And then at the end, hey, it was Uncle whatever. And they explicitly stated in the commentary that it's like, I mean, we want to do something a little bit better than that, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, you know, what they end up with, I would recommend you check that out. That was a good movie.
Well, it's like it reminds, like, deducing who the killer is in TV shows and movies is sort of like watching Forensic Files. Have you ever watched that?
I used to a really long time ago.
Well, I've like, the problem is now that I know how certain things work, it has ruined those episodes for me. Because it's like, a wife was murdered and her husband says he's innocent, and then the husband isn't interviewed. I'm like, it was him then. Like, there's no fucking way it wasn't him. Like, everybody surrounding the case is interviewed except for the husband.
It's like,
I wonder who it could have been.
Yeah, sometimes it's like the worst sometimes when it's really obvious like that. Like, well, true crime is a different thing altogether. But talking about strictly in, like, fictional media, and it's like, oh, come on, like, try.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I feel like the older films in the horror genre have done a better job of concealing who the killer is. Sure, certain films, it's like, oh, that guy's acting a little funny. Maybe there's something up with him. But then you go to, like, the original Friday the 13th, where it takes so long to see Pamela Voorhees. And when you do see her, she's all innocent and happy. Like, oh, what's the problem here? What's going on here? As people are screaming and covered in blood, and she's like, well, you know, today's my boy's birthday, and then she just slowly slides into madness. I'm like, oh,
right, kids.
Guess what? Just walk into a camp. Guess who's crazy?
I just read a book about that called Games of Terror, where it was like a psychoanalysis kind of thing of slasher movies from, I think, 79 to 81. And it had a lot of interesting theory about, it's like, okay, here are the things that work as part of the formula. You know, like, past event, present event, past event. The killer sees an injury or death. Killer experiences a loss. The killer kills the guilty party. Current event. The killer's force is reactivated. The killer re-identifies the guilty party. The killer kills the guilty party. The heroine does battle with the killer after seeing him. And it was kind of it was pretty interesting for a book that was written in, I think, like 89 or whatever.
Yeah.
And didn't have as much like retrospect.
Yeah.
It went really heavily on like the psychoanalysis though. Like stuff that I was kind of like I was kind of reading and being like, what? Like it would have like thesis points along the lines of, there was one chapter where it talked about how like the killer's violence is due to like viewing naked women and seeing them as devalued because they don't have like male genitalia, like they're considered like castrated somehow. It made no sense. It made no sense at all. I was like, what in the? And then it's like, oh, this is Freudian analysis. Okay, so any circle is a vagina and any straight line is a phallic symbol. Okay. Like,
oh my! Have you seen that room? Oh god, what was it called? It was that Shining.
It down. What?
It was the Shining analysis documentary.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that. I'm feeling grateful.
Oh my god! It is. I sat. It is like a 2-hour documentary, and I sat there the whole time, and like the first couple moments, I'm like, oh, that's neat. I'm like, that I can see where that would make sense. And then it gets to a point where you literally hear a guy go, well, when this guy stands up to shake Jack Nicholson's character's hand, he's standing in front of it's like a tray that holds your mail. He's like, but if you really look, it's representative of an erection. I'm like, what the fuck? Huh?
Yeah, a lot of film analysis can be fun, but sometimes it gets pretty dubious pretty quick, and it's like, I feel like you're seeing things that maybe aren't there.
Well, it's like the phrase, sometimes the chair's just a chair.
Yeah. Like, that's, I have a handful of other books that kind of analyze some movies like that. Aside from Games of Terror. Games of Terror was, I checked out like a dozen of them from my school's library. Sure. And Games of Terror was the only one I could find my own copy of, because all the other ones were like expensive and rare. And Games of Terror was too, but it was the only one that Half Price Books actually had somewhere. But I want to read more stuff like that, just kind of for fun. Like I have one called Massacred by Mother Nature, which is about like eco-horror films. Like there's a big picture from there's the Big Frogs movie poster on the front, and one of my favorite things that I like doing with horror is, so I'm a master's student for biology, specifically reptiles and amphibians. And I really enjoy like watching like monster movies and then doing like a biological analysis, like talking about, it's like, how accurate is this? What do we see in behavior? What do we see from, how the creature looks? How can we learn from this in some way, or at least get people interested in learning? And I did a paper on that for a herpetology class, and we ended up submitting that to some websites, and it actually got published on the Reptile Report. So, nice. Herpetology horror show. And, Crawl being about alligators, so I want to start doing more of those. And I think I can get some of that writing done at some point this fall. So, I got contact info from some guys that are high up at Bloody Disgusting, and so maybe I could get an article on Bloody Disgusting. Like, that would be kind of a, I don't want to say the dream, because,
it's something to aim
cliched.
for.
Well, it's sort of cliched. That's why I didn't like. Some phrases I don't like using just because it's like, oh, everybody uses that phrase and they always sound like a hack. But that would be really cool if I could do, like my regular biology work during the day and then like have fun with it, during the night. So, because this is my last year of school. Yeah. Gonna need to start living in reality again. But yeah, so I really love stuff like that where I can take something and analyze it like in a practical, like measured sense. And especially like animal horror films. But of course, everything else is fun too. Like I tend to not like ghost stories as much, but they're kind of growing on me a bit. So I saw Silent Hill last week, and I've been going through Shout Factory's ridiculously stacked collector edition of that. Like, it has almost as much stuff on it as like an Arrow box set. Like, it's gonna... Yeah, I want to do a review video on that. But review videos are kind of new to me. Like, okay, I have a lot of thoughts and a lot to say. Okay, we'll try taking notes. And I have like 8 pages of notes, and it's like, okay, do I write this into a script? Do I just go? So I still need to watch the commentary on it. And it's an okay commentary. Like, I've heard some of it. Sometimes when I try to like sit down and watch stuff, like I'm really tired from the day, and I will just like black out. Like, it won't be anything. There won't be anything wrong with the movie or the content. Like, it's not boring. It's just like I've stopped moving and my body just shuts down.
I totally get that. Yeah.
But yeah, that's something I'm working on. Hopefully for this week, although then again, Demogorgon coming to Dead by Daylight on Tuesday. That's probably going to be where most of my fun time goes. So, I think I got a couple other videos uploaded too that I just need to like edit the info for, and then I'll have them go live over the course of this week and next week. Yeah. So I picked up a bunch of used stuff for Labor Day sales. And then I got a bunch of stuff from Fright Rags too, also a Labor Day sale.
And there was Fright Rags?
Yeah, frightrags.com. So they put out, they're like cavity colors. Like, they put out a lot of like horror shirts and socks and all kinds of stuff. I really like their socks. So they had a bunch of socks that were on sale for $6 a pair, and it's like, okay, we're going for it. I probably need to shoot another pickups video soon, because there was a lot of I went out on Friday the 13th and picked some stuff up too, and I ended up with this was kind of annoying. So the Spirit Halloween near me, it was supposed to open a couple weeks ago, but it was like shut down by like the electrical inspector or whatever. Like, whatever building they rented like had some problem, and so it was finally open on Friday when I went there. But they didn't have most of the masks that I was looking for yet.
Yeah.
But they did have these really nice looking Freddy socks, and it's like, okay, they have kind of like a weird like slash pattern on them, which, I just want the pattern, have it be like normal. But I was like, well, okay, these are cool anyway. They're probably as good as we'll get. So they were $9, and I bought those. And then I went to the mall, and Hot Topic, of all places, had like exactly what I was looking for. They were like long, like over the knee, like Freddy socks, and it's like, damn it, this is exactly what I wanted. I just bought these. And it was kind of dumb, because Hot Topic, most of their merchandise has little to no actual value, and it's all inflated because of their weird sales and stuff. So it was like, you can buy 1 pair of socks for $9, or you can buy 3 pairs of socks for $10. So I ended up with several pairs of Freddy socks today. And yeah, I'm sure I sound like a lunatic now, but hey, stuff happens. And then one of my regular places that I go to when I head out to the mall. I've been looking for the Scream 1 and 2 soundtrack on vinyl, and we just happened to have that used for like 15-ish, so that was a pretty good find. And I expected it to be sold out, but at Best Buy they had the John Wick 4K Steelbook,
Really?
which I've been kind of interested in, and it's like, oh, you do have it? And, you know, I do watch stuff besides horror, just not very much of it. Although there are a few things that I ended up kind of accidentally enjoying, just because of, like, I like to pay attention to, like, because I spend so much time, like, on Twitter and online, like, I notice all the, like, the weird controversies that come up from time to time.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most fun ones, well, at least for me, was when they announced that they were doing, like, a new She-Ra cartoon. And, you know, I'm old enough to remember the original, like, kind of tangentially. But a lot of people were like, oh, look at this art style. Oh, doesn't this suck? Like, it was about that. It was about that level of intelligence in the argument. But, you know, I saw enough people complaining about it. It's like, you know what? What is this actually like? You know, like, what are they mad about? Like, let's see if there's anything to this. And then I kind of accidentally became a bit of a fan of it. It's like, you know, this is okay. This is just like a kid show. You know, whatever. It's like, hey, there's another season. I guess I'll watch that. And then it's like the third season comes out, and it's like, oh, all right, cool. It's like, wait, how did I get invested in this?
Wait a minute.
Like, so you never know what you're gonna end up enjoying, you know, just by taking like a chance on it. Like a lot of people reacted very negatively to like Halloween 2018, which, you know, that was the first, you know, big horror movie like I got to go see in a theater. It's like I never thought I would get to go to a Halloween movie coming out in theaters. And so I think that probably colored my experience with it. But I mean, it was awesome. Like, I got to go to the theater in costume. You know, they wouldn't let me wear the mask, but they did let me take it inside, because we went to kind of the bad part of town theater that had like cops there.
Yeah.
But you know, I got to sneak the mask on and like pose for photos with people. So I guess that sort of ties in with I guess what I might make my closing thought here about like some critical analysis, because like a lot of times, like if you go on say Rotten Tomatoes or like any review site really that's not like a horror oriented review site, and you look up any horror movie, like it'll have like a terrible review. It'll be like, you know, a 30 on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. And then when you watch it, it turns out, oh, this is awesome. You know, why did I let people stop me from seeing this? You know, why did I hesitate?
See, that's why a lot of the times I'll kind of avoid like the Rotten Tomatoes scores, because I feel like they can be skewed because somebody's like, I didn't like it because I didn't like it. Like, they don't give a real reason. And so I'll just go see it for myself and then go back and read those.
Exactly, you know, and you know, as I've gotten older, I kind of realized that, you know, a lot of media that's put out there really isn't that bad. Like, even some of the worst stuff, like, oh, okay, that doesn't mean that bad movies don't exist, because they certainly do. I mean, but a lot of times people exaggerate with how bad something is.
Yeah.
Except for The Force Awakens, which I hated with a blazing passion.
What did you think of The Last Jedi?
I have watched multiple. I refuse to watch the actual movie, but I have seen the movie through clips. So I know everything that happens, but I refuse to see it because I know it will piss me off. I hated Rogue One too. Rogue One, like, when characters started dying, I was like, oh, thank God, we don't have to see them anymore. That means this is almost over.
That might be the best answer to, like, what did you think of The Last Jedi? I haven't seen it. I've seen stuff about it. I haven't seen it.
Well, I would, when it came out, it's like, you know, am I gonna get burned and my heart broken again? So I watched, there were a lot of videos where people would, like, analyze it like scene by scene.
Uh-huh.
Some of them were like a couple hours long, and I watched like 6 or 7 of those. So I know what happens in it. Oddly enough, Solo, I expected to despise Solo. I ended up having a good time. I liked Solo a lot. Like, I thought Solo was the best one that they put out. I have weird opinions, but...
So well, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm from that generation of like, man, I miss the expanded universe of Star Wars.
Too. I grew up reading the expanded universe books the way people... I'm 31, and my reading kind of... I never got into Harry Potter because I was reading Star Wars books instead.
Oh yeah.
So I read the expanded universe Star Wars books like people, read the Harry Potter books when they were kids. So it was always kind of like a really special thing to me. And so when they got rid of... The main thing I had with The Force Awakens, as we get totally off of horror, sorry everybody.
Oh, good.
The main thing I had with The Force Awakens was I have this whole history of, it's like, okay, what happened afterward? And then seeing the story that they used for The Force Awakens, Mario is missing. Oh, sorry, Luke is missing. It felt like that. It really did. It was like, in my mind, it was like, okay, was it worth getting rid of all those stories and adventures to tell this story? No. And then they did Han Solo so dirty in that. That was like... I almost walked out of the theater. It's like...
Well, Rogue One straight up stole the Dark Forces storyline. The stealing the Death Star plans and the Dark Troopers were both major components of Dark Forces. And here's the worst part: that how the central plot of Rogue One is we got to get the Death Star plans.
Yeah.
One guy does that by himself in 10 minutes in Dark Forces.
I should revisit Dark Forces. I haven't... Oh my god, it's been, 20 years?
It is... The mission to get the Death Star plans is literally the first mission of Dark Forces, and you can get it done. I got it done in around a minute 30 because I knew where I was going.
Wow. The backstory I liked for it was, my big one was the Han Solo trilogy, which I must have read... Oh my god, like 30 sometimes. And Han's like first girlfriend is the one who like gets the plans in that, and I kind of it sort of felt like Jin was a little bit inspired by Bria from that, but not quite so much. So again, I prefer, I'm trying not to go into like a long diatribe. But I just so greatly preferred the stuff in the books, and I wish they had just taken the good stuff from the books, and at least had that influence the story some more. It was just like, again, that was another thing that had like its own like weird internet controversy. Like people were, it's like, oh, the main character is a girl. That's why this movie is bad. It's like, what are you talking about? Did you see the rest of the movie? It's like, she was fine. Like, I liked all the new characters. All the new characters were okay. Like, just...
I actively hated one character in that film because I thought he was somebody else in the trailer.
Who?
It was Cassian in Rogue One. The main guy in that film.
It's hard to... I saw Rogue One exactly once, and I think I blocked a good amount of it out. It can be hard for me to remember character names, too. Like, that's a problem we have on Inside Movies Galore a lot. It's like, okay, what was... Shit, I can see him in my mind. What the hell was his name?
But I saw the trailer where they're running across the beach, and you see all the, the AT-AT walkers, and you see a guy with a, blaster rifle sprinting across the sand, and I'm like, oh my god, is that Kyle Katarn from Dark Forces and like Jedi Knight and all these? Like, he's a major component of the expanded universe.
It's like, yes! Wait, no!
Like, he's finally come back. He's on screen. It's great. And it's like, oh, my name's Cassian. I'm like, who the fuck is Cassian?
Who the hell are you? Yeah.
I'm like, all right, is Kyle gonna show up at some point? And then the movie ends like, oh no. I actually, so when I saw The Last Jedi around when it came out, and I was drunk when I saw it.
Yeah, I should actually see it, for myself. Like, I feel like it'll be like Zeus from God of War 3, just like looking down on the world, like, such chaos. I will have much work to do when I have defeated you, Kratos. Just kind of like.
And the camera pans down, and you're climbing up the mountain, just Zeus.
Yeah, Zeus is looking out at like tornadoes and like storms and shit, just destroying the earth, like unchecked.
That like, oh, well, the thing is, most of the so most of the catastrophic events that take place in God of War 3 are strictly Kratos' fault.
I mean, they are. It's like every time he kills one of the gods, he causes some sort of incredible natural disaster. And I mean, it is your fault.
But then he like the end of the game, he's like, yeah, I did it. I killed Zeus, and then he looks out over an apocalypse beyond measure that is completely his fault. He's like, yeah, I'm the hero. and then he moves to Norway.
Man, the new God of War was such an awesome game, though. I mean, it's like, Kratos learned from all that stuff. It's like, I don't know, it really represented, I think, the maturity that a lot of the people, like, in my age group at least, kind of gained, like, between, because back in God of War 3, it's like, yeah, let's rock! And, now that we're older, and, some of it, like, I don't have any kids, but, some of us do. It's like, I mean, I could almost identify with the new Kratos at this point in my life as much as I could, when I was like 14 and like playing the first God of War and just like, yeah, kill all the monsters. Like, it's got like a nice progression to it.
Well, like, I loved the new God of War, but I had a hard time. Like, the thing is, I saw a lot of I saw a lot of articles where it's like, oh man, Kratos is such a great person in this new one, and then like you see moments where it's like he's coming to understand Atreus and he's trying to teach him things. I'm like, dude, you murdered like an entire nation. Like, holy shit! Like, you're not redeemed yet. You're gonna have to work a little bit harder at that, dude.
Well, it's like he basically learned from his mistakes. Like, have you played the new one?
I have, and like there are moments where like you can see, like, I get that he regrets his actions, but then I see articles where it's like, man, Kratos is redeemed. I'm like, it's not yet, man. You gotta work more at that, because you murdered like millions of innocent people. Like, sure, you took revenge on the gods, but you also wiped out Greece.
Yeah, he didn't really care about bystanders back then, and you can sort of tell he regrets it, though.
Yeah.
It's like, I lost everything so many times. It's given me a lot of perspective. Like, that was kind of the vibe I got from the new Kratos. And, there are times where, like, he doesn't just, like, rage out and kill people like he used to. Like, he thinks things over, and he at least tries to be, like, a good example. Like,
well, even when he does rage out when he's fighting, Baldur at the very beginning, he actually has a moment of like, oh god, what have I done? How did they find me?
And he doesn't, like, Baldur gets like right in his face right away.
Yeah.
And he's like, you do not want this fight. Yeah, I do.
Just
like,
leave my house.
Like, old Kratos would have just like stabbed that guy in the face, like, right away.
Would have twisted his head off like it was nothing.
Oh, which he couldn't do to Baldur, but we didn't know that quite yet.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun intro where like this random guy just like knocks Kratos out. Oh, what?
Well, that's something that threw me off just a tiny bit, because like Kratos acts like his actions are what led, Baldur showing up, like why that he's even there, but they're looking for like what's her name? Faye?
Yeah, they're looking for his wife, who had just died.
Well,
Although that's kind of a spoiler, but it was so good it like kind of surprised me.
It, you know?
Oh yeah, you don't quite realize that's who they were looking for until at least the midpoint.
Well, like what kind of threw me off just the tiniest bit was like, I'm like, oh, that stranger knows Kratos and he's here to punish him, but then he doesn't even know who Kratos is. It's just like, wait, hold on. Like, then why are you? Then like, there was, I'd say just a very minor discrepancy that I saw on the post game. And have you seen the dream sequence at the end?
Oh yeah.
The flash forward.
It's like, oh shit, we're doing it. And it's like, oh, it's just a dream. And they show the hammer. Ah.
Well, like,
I was sad we didn't get that battle.
well, what kills me is like it says years later, and then they step out and they're wearing all the same armor and outfits that I put on them before the end of the game. So I'm like, wait, have you guys been wearing the same outfit for years now? What's going on?
I did read there was an article with some explanation on that. It was like they didn't know what the next character designs were going to be yet. Like they didn't have them done, so they figured they'd just have it be weird instead of not doing it at all. Which, you know...
Even older Kratos.
Acceptable. It's like I don't have as much time to get mad about stuff as I used to. So yeah. It's like, alright, fair. You know, plus I can understand like why some people, you know, do some things now. It's like, oh, why didn't you render this? It's like, well, we didn't really have time, or, you know, we just couldn't do it. It's like, well, okay.
Okay, real quick, going back to the Star Wars Last Jedi, there's something I want to bring up to you.
Oh Lord.
So you said you did research and you essentially knows what happens in the movie, right?
Yeah, like I think my favorite moment is like Finn is going to like suicide bomb this cannon that's going to like destroy the hideout or whatever, and Rose stops him and is like, no, I can't let you do it. And it's like, you saved me. And then the cannon fires and blows up the hideout and everyone else dies.
Yeah, congrats, Rose. You doomed the rebellion.
It's like, I saw that scene and I was like, huh, okay. And then somebody points out, it's like, you know, she did stop him from destroying the cannon, and you realize everybody just died, right? And then I sat there like, I laughed so hard because I hadn't put it together yet, and it's like, wait a minute. Oh.
So when I went and saw that movie, I'm not a big drinker, but I sat down, like I was at the concession stand, I'm like, hey, can I get like a cider or something? I'm like, sure, we only have one cider, is that fine? Sure thing. And they hand me this massive cup filled with the cider. I'm like, all right, fucking cool. And the thing is, when I'm drunk, I get more logical than when I'm sober. And so instead of like, I can excuse it, I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. What the hell's going on?
Just like logic pendented.
Yeah, like I just turn into fucking Spock. That doesn't work.
It's like, well, if you look at this angle, he clearly could not have. It's like, you need to drink more. It's fine.
just start drinking more. And then like I took a lift back to my house after the movie, and it was like the lady who dropped me off earlier. And I was telling her about the movie on the way there. I'm like, I think it'll be fine. And then I'm drunk sitting in her car on the way home. She's like, so what did you think of the movie? I'm like, it wasn't that good. Kind of sucked.
It's not great.
And I got home and I sat down and I typed out like a list of things that didn't make any fucking sense from Star Wars. And some of them are just so like like one of the last ones I wrote was, we lost the extended universe for this bleak, hopeless future.
Yeah, it's like that was my reaction to The Force Awakens. Our hero's victory meant nothing, and they lived in misery until Han Solo died face down in the mud.
Fell into a pit.
Not literally, but pretty damn close, right?
Yeah. But
I just love that trope. He died face down in the dirt so that you could...
Well, like the moment where Finn's driving the ship into the beam, and there's that moment where it's really holding on him, like pushing the controls forward and going faster and faster, and you see him kind of accepting that this is it. I'm like, man, this is a smart decision. I'm like, dude, he's like a huge hero. And then fucking Rose comes out of nowhere and T-bones him at Mach 1.
Side tackle!
Yeah, I'm like, you almost killed him to prove a point, and your point still sucks.
Like, there were some moments in, did you see the new Godzilla? Like, I loved the new Godzilla. And it had, so I counted later, it had no less than 2 just Ghidorah side tackles. Like,
Yeah.
there would be moments where Ghidorah is about to, like, kill somebody, and Godzilla would just, like, appear from the side of the screen and, like, tackle Ghidorah. Like, there were 2 actual tackles, and then there were, like, 2 atomic blasts. So it kind of happens, like, 4 times. It's an actual tackle twice.
Well, like the 2014 Godzilla, I kept hearing like not mixed stuff about it, but like, oh, it's good, but it's not that good. I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's a Godzilla movie. Is it good or is it not good? Please tell me.
I would say it's good. It's more of a slower burn kind of thing. Like, they try to do the less is more thing, like they did with the Shark and Jaws. And for the most part, it kind of works. Although a lot of people felt cheated by that approach, which is why Godzilla is all over the new one. Like, we see him like at least every 5 minutes.
On every poster, on every picture.
Yeah.
There he is.
But the Gareth Edwards Godzilla was all right. I mean, it's the original Godzilla's only in that for, I think, 20 minutes on screen. So it followed that original formula more tightly, like in that original approach. So it's definitely more of a more artsy movie, for lack of a better term. I mean, it's definitely worth seeing, and it's very good. It's just not. It's not good in the way that, say, Pacific... It's not going to be like a crowd pleaser the way something like Pacific Rim would be.
It's not 90% fan service, it's maybe 10%.
Yeah.
Well, like, what I liked about the 2014 Godzilla is that the fighting's more visceral.
They did some really good work with, like, incorporating actual biology into that. They studied, like, how bears and Komodo dragons fight.
Oh, yeah.
And incorporated that into Godzilla's moves, which I thought was just awesome. Because, again, biology, I just love it when they do stuff like that. And there was a lot to love. We just didn't get as much of it as I think we should have. And a lot of the human characters were kind of flat. Like, Bryan Cranston dies too soon.
Yep.
Like, there were definitely issues with the 2014 Godzilla, but pretty much everything's been patched up in the new Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I think my only real gripe with King of the Monsters is, like, you could tell a lot of the jokes were kind of for kids. Like, stuff like, you know, that lizard is juiced, you know, when Godzilla gets, like, supercharged and is fighting Ghidorah. Like, there were this one character had a lot of really, like, groaner, painful jokes. Like, there weren't enough of them to where it ruined anything, but there were enough of them to where it kind of got aggravating towards the end. It's like, shut up.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
hey, that character's on screen. Aw.
It's like, man, he's telling bad jokes. And it'd be better if, like, some of the other people in, like, the command room were like, man, your jokes kind of suck. Hey, I'm trying my best here. No respect.
Somebody just looks over and I'm like, dude, shut up.
It's like Rodney Dangerfield. Hey!
Godzilla's getting no respect.
But otherwise, I mean, it was friggin' awesome, and I love it so much. Had a decent release too. Like the extras were somewhat fleshed out, unlike the 2014 Godzilla, which pretty much had nothing on it. I think it had like 10 minutes of featurettes and that was it.
Yeah.
And it never got like a good reissue either. But, you know.
Well, if I remember, like, the regular DVD release, it had, like, a behind-the-scenes thing where it's, like, most of the actors are just going, yeah, Godzilla's pretty neat, and then it's just, that's
pretty much it, yeah. I don't even remember all that much being on it. Like, I have the Blu-ray, which I haven't looked at in a while. It's like, if you hear my audio dipping, that's me turning away from the mic to look at my shelf. But,
what are you talking about?
yeah.
As I slowly just pushed my mic away from my face.
But, yeah, apparently Gareth Edwards did Rogue One, which, it's sort of a sad moment. Like, I disliked Rogue One so much. So there was a story that they told on the extras for Lucio Fulci's Cat in the Brain. He tried doing some sort of historical documentary or whatever, and it was so poorly received. Like, people, like, at the first screening, people in the audience, like, stood up and shouted, "Kill the director!" at the screen.
Oh!
And yeah. That's why Lucio Fulci never really talked about that movie, whose name has been lost to time. And at the end of Rogue One, I actually did that. I got out of my chair, like, "Kill the director!" Directed by Gareth Edwards, and I was like, "Oh man, not you!
Name him!"
Like, come on, Gareth Edwards. I was genuinely sad. It's like, how could you do such a cool job on Godzilla and monsters and your other projects, and then this sucks? Man.
like when you meet him in person, you don't like say what movie, but just shake his hand and go, "Look, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." And he'll know. Yep, yeah.
I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if, you know, maybe he wasn't as good as I thought he was before, because I think he's had like other projects that have also been kind of meh. But I mean, I wouldn't really have the heart to, I think, actually do that to Gareth Edwards if I met him in person. Like, one thing that was fun at Flashback Weekend, I met Fred Decker. You know, he wrote The Monster Squad, and also the new Predator movie that came out last year, which pretty much everybody but me really hated. And, you know, I saw it like on Christmas break with my brother, and we were having drinks, and it was a great time. Like, it was an awesome time, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Somehow. And so I was talking to Fred Decker. It's like, "Hey, you did the new Predator, right?" And he kind of tenses up, like, "Yeah." It's like, you know, me and my brother really liked that movie, and like, I was so shocked to find out people didn't like enjoy it. And he was like, "Oh, well," and we had like a 20-minute conversation about it, and that was pretty awesome. So again, that's that thing I like to do, where, you know, talk to people, you know, about something that either maybe didn't go so well, or you know, that they just don't get to converse with people on very often.
And I think a good portion of the time, whenever something kind of falls through or certain decisions fall through, I don't think that that's the director's fault. I think it's more the studio.
They had a lot of really ugly studio interference. Like, the studio basically insisted on this particular ending that didn't even fit the movie. And it's like, oh, and it's like, oh, you know, that scene did kind of seem very out of place. And he was like, "Well, it's because they made us do it." I
love when interviews like throw the studio under the bus with that. They're just like, "Look, we didn't do this."
Yeah, they're just being honest, though. There was another movie I saw recently. It was called Kin. It was from last year. And it's basically like this really grounded, like, drama, except there's an alien blaster involved. It's hard to describe. It had like a 30 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I picked up
Laser Blast.
No, it is nowhere near as garbage as Laser Blast. But I was really surprised by it because it was something. It's like I looked it up and it's like, oh, okay, here's the steelbook for $5. Oh, the steelbook is still 20 on eBay. Awesome. So I pick it up and I look it up on Rotten Tomatoes and it's like, ew, it's got like a 20 or it's got like a 30 or something. Yeah, I guess I'll watch it later. And then when I watched it, it's like, wow, this is honestly pretty cool. Like, huh. And it had a lot of really good extra stuff on it too. Like it had like a fairly thick documentary. It even had like a little like hour-long like roundtable discussion on special features with like the directors, some other like other Hollywood directors. Like Kevin Smith was kind of like leading the conversation there too. Okay. And it was a really fascinating thing to watch because it's like, what do? Do you record the commentary like before or after the movie comes out? Because they were talking about how on the Josie and the Pussycats commentary they recorded it like after. And they were talking about how it's just like the worst thing ever because they come on and it's like, well, just got the box office numbers. This movie was fun to make. And it's just like, my heart broke a little hearing that. It's like
you can hear the pain just through the audio.
And it's like, I'm so sad.
What? God, there was a commentary that had like Ben Affleck in it, and I can't remember what movie it was for, but that movie like tanked, and he was like, it was right when he got really popular, and so the whole commentary he was just talking shit about the movie he was in.
What the?
Yeah, like as they're watching the movie, and so when a scene comes up, he's like, "Watch this, watch this." It's like, oh god, that effect sucked. And just like, oh my god.
Some commentaries are like that, where they like tell jokes or just screw around. Sometimes it can be really fun. Sometimes it can be really obnoxious. Well, I think maybe the best one like that is on Cannibal the Musical. But have you heard that one? It's so good. So Matt and Trey, they just have like all their friends who are in the movie like come over and they just get completely trashed and watch the movie. It's like, we were filming this shot, I don't know why. People kept thinking we were like doing porn or something. Like they thought we were gay. And then like 5 minutes later, it's the scene where they're all like camping outside and they're all naked with a lot of emphasis on like their butts, and it's like, oh, okay.
So that's why.
No wonder people thought. And then they're just like telling jokes. It's like, yeah, well, the horse, the cheating horse, Lenore, was named after my fiance who cheated on me, and you know what? Now I'm worth $6 million, and she married some guy who runs a grocery store. Fuck you, Lenore. And they're just like so wasted. There's one part where they like accidentally knock out the mic, and it goes silent for 10 minutes. And it's like, oh, I guess they're done. And then it's like, hey, we unplugged it. Sorry. You can tell they're like incredibly drunk.
They're just plastered.
This is the fucking best.
Oh my god. What movie is it? You said Cannibal the Musical?
Yeah.
Cannibal. I'm gonna keep that.
Oh, you gotta see it. It's so good. Like, it has one of like the best trailers too. It's like bringing you all the excitement of Friday the 13th, Part 2, and then it cuts to some guy getting pickaxes slammed into his eyes. And Oklahoma, and then it cuts to the guy. He's like smiling and like square dancing, but he still has the pickaxes in his eyes. Like, yes.
Oh my, like, so when you said Matt and Trey, I'm like, that couldn't be, could it? And I'm looking up the directors.
Trey Parker.
Yeah.
He did it before South Park.
Well, like, I recently watched one of their other movies, Basketball.
That was a weird one, but that was also fun. It has pretty much the same cast too.
I like it because it's got a little bit more subtle, almost background humor. Like, there's one of my one of the funniest things in that movie to me is such a simple gag, and it's when he's like freaking out that the kid that they're visiting is dying. It's like, he needs a blanket, and he runs over to another guy's like bed, and he's like, hey, the kid needs the blanket, and he tears it off the bed, but in the background you see the guy go flying up and like slam into the wall in the background.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff like that in there. I'm trying to remember some more. I'm trying to remember some more of the jokes from the commentary that I really liked. There's one where like it's about like the Donner Party, and there's a scene where they're like in the general store like buying supplies, and they spend a lot of time like making sure that they show one of their main characters like buying a lot of fudge, so that they can make the joke, want some fudge, Packer, because that's the guy's name.
Oh yeah.
And on the comment there, they were talking about, it's like, yeah, we thought we really had to like establish that he was buying actual fudge for that, you know, because we hadn't taken that screenwriting class yet, and we didn't know better. Because they made it while this is like their student film, like they made it while they were still in school. And just like the little comments like that, it's like, yeah, we thought we had to do this. Nope. Waste of time. And then when like the joke actually happens, they're like, you know, that really wasn't very funny. Like, I don't know. Sometimes when you write stuff, it's like, haha, and then like you see it and it's like, ugh.
It's funnier on paper than in execution.
Yeah. Oh man, such a great thing. But wow, we've been here for a while. Damn.
Yeah, we're closing in on 2 hours. I think with that we will tie this up.
Yeah.
Hey man, thank you for stopping by. I very much appreciate it.
It's fun to hang out and rant about various things.
Horror movies and Star Wars.
Well, preferably more horror movies. So on Inside Movies Galore, we do like themes. We don't always get to talk about horror movies, so I'm working on figuring out my own like separate spin-off where I only talk about horror movies. And I actually have quite a few people willing to be guests on that sort of lined up. So whenever I figure out how I'm gonna do it, like how I'm gonna release it, that'll be a thing. So I think I may invite you on for that. So
I would be more than happy for that, man.
Yeah, we've got some cool people lined up. We've got the guy who wrote Saw and Piranha 3D who's interested in coming on. I want to say Josh Stolberg. Like, I don't always remember people's names. Yeah. It took me a long time to learn Robert Englund's name. Like, for the longest time, I was just calling him that guy. We got Tim Seeley, who wrote Hackslash and is just awesome in general. David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown.
I interviewed him recently. He's a super nice guy.
Oh yeah, and it's so fun too. Like, he recently got banned from Twitter, which is like awful because he got banned from Twitter. Well, he likes to get in like political battle. He likes to like shitpost like right-wing creeps, which I have always found that really funny. That, you know, Art, the sadistic murderous clown, is like super liberal, kind of like me, in case people couldn't tell.
What kills me is that he doesn't even like write a paragraph about it. He's like, "Fuck this guy," and then that's the whole thing.
And then he gets in so much trouble for it, and it's like he still isn't back. Like, I hope he's back soon. Anyway, I'm trying to think of who else do I have. I have a big list of people. I also want to try to include people who aren't necessarily like in horror, but who also kind of have like audiences, and I think would be interesting to talk to. Like, I have.
That's what you got me for, because I'm not. The thing is, I'm not even primarily like a horror channel. I just talk to a lot of people in that community.
Yeah, like, and like, I know. I think it'll be fun. Like, I have a couple of like adult film people that I think I can get to, like Jay Taylor and Daisy Cooper.
Ron Jeremy.
That would probably be hilarious if we could get like Ron Jeremy to like talk about horror movies.
Oh, that'd be an interesting one.
It's kind of fun because like, I've been talking to one of them, and she kind of doesn't want people to know to another one of them, and she kind of doesn't want people to know she likes horror movies. But I think that makes it all the more interesting to have like a conversation with her. It's like, okay, so, you know, you do like horror movies though, so, you know, what do you like? I like Devil's Rejects. It's like, really? She seemed kind of not into stuff like that. She seems kind of squeamish, and it's like, wow, you could handle Devil's Rejects? Like I just found that was fascinating, and I had like a conversation with them via, DM. It's like, and some people like really like The Descent, like the cave creature movies, like The Descent.
Oh yeah.
Cave. So I think that's probably what one of those episodes is going to be on. Like, I'm going to watch The Descent and like talk it over with them. So there's also Leroy Myers, who's involved with this company called Wood Rocket. Apparently he used to work for Troma and also knows a lot about like horror. So, I mean, there's a lot more overlap between, like different industries than people think. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. It's sort of funny, like I've been formulating this podcast and, describing it to myself. It's like, okay, we can get these kinds of guests. We can get those kinds of guests. It'll be fun. And it's like, wait a minute, am I just doing the Howard Stern show? But with like horror?
I'd love to like talk to Lloyd Kaufman of Troma.
I know people who know him, and I've met him twice. He did get my name wrong the second time though.
Oh.
But I'm pretty sure I could get him as well. So it's gonna be so much fun if I can ever figure out just how the hell I'm gonna manage all this. So, especially since I suck at like the recording and planning aspect, like it works better for me if I can just like jump on and do it,
Yeah.
But speaking of which, so yeah, come check my channel out. That'll be on there at some point.
Yep. And I will be putting links to your stuff in the description of this video, so go down there and check it out.
Yeah. At some point I want to try Twitch streaming. Basically the only thing I really play anymore is Dead by Daylight, so you can watch me get tilted and yell. Which I seem to do at least once per session, so we're trying to keep the vile cursing down, but we've been getting better at it.
You just gotta start a stream with just like, fuck!
The acceptable curse words.
But,
like, just start shouting. It's like, geez, I didn't even know I knew that word. Where'd that come from?
Just making shit up.
Oh.
But thank you again for coming on. I very much appreciate it. I had a whole lot of fun. I don't know about
you.
I have one last question for you to wrap things up. If asked again, would you be open to coming back as a return guest?
Sure. As long as it's on a day where I didn't have other stuff going on, because we record Inside Movies Galore on Thursday. Well, I mean on Tuesday. On Tuesdays we record Inside Movies Galore, and I do have class 2 days a week, and it takes up most of my time, like especially Tuesday. I have a class Tuesday, Thursday, and I kind of use the days in between to, like do my homework and readings. So I'm kind of always doing something.
Yeah. And we can plan around that. Like I like to explain to people, like the show Demasked is a one person thing. It's just me.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of how a lot of my videos are now, where I just ramble at the camera like a lunatic.
Oh, I actually had a question for you earlier that I forgot to ask. What kind of camera do you use? Because I've been trying to look to do some live action stuff, but I don't have much for cameras.
I'm trying to see if it
Nokia
says
phone?
on here. I use that $50 webcam, that $50 Logitech webcam that you can get at Best Buy. I think it's like the CT Pro 50 or something.
Yep, I know the exact one you're talking about. Yeah.
It's a surprisingly good camera. It can't do like green screen background stuff, or at least if it can, I don't know how to do that. Which I think is my only... I think that's the only problem I actually have with it. It's a pretty good camera.
Well, I'm not sure how to do live green screen, like if you're streaming with green screen, but I know how to do it if you're editing something.
Well, I'm quite bad at editing. next time it shows up on Humble Bundle, I'm gonna get the Vega Pro software, because a lot of people have suggested that, and I do know a few other YouTubers, like I know Creationist Cat.
What are you using now?
What am I using now for like my
for editing?
I tried using YouTube's editor and sort of gave up. So part of why it took me so long to get a lot of my videos in the last year out was because it's like, okay, we're gonna edit out where I, forget what I was talking about, or where I like knock the camera over, and it's like, you know what? No, just we don't have time. Just upload everything. So
just send it. Yeah.
All the bloopers are still in there.
One I can recommend for free that I use that has worked very, very well is Hit Film Express.
Okay, I think I might have access to that somehow. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's free, but it gives you, it's drag and drop, very easy to use. Once you get everything set up, you can even set up where your videos export to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's helped me a long way. But yeah, I'd say check that out. I'll send you the name. But let's spread this up real quick. Thank you for stopping by, those at home. Thank you for watching this, and thank you once again, Crypt, for stopping by. I had a whole lot of fun, and I can't wait to either A, be on your show, or have you back on mine again.
No problem. Like, I had a good time, and yeah, once I get started talking, I kind of can't be stopped. So, thanks for putting up with that.
Oh, trust me, I'm the same here. The minute it's like, oh, what do you mean you like Star Wars or comic books? Yeah, I know a lot about comic books.
Well, not so much Star Wars anymore. It's kind of like, let it rest in peace.
Was it like that Simpsons clip? Just stop, he's already dead.
Yeah. Although I will give them something though. Like, since Disney got a hold of it, the main movies I've just despised except for Solo. But like the Rebels series and the comics that they were putting out through Marvel, like I've enjoyed those. Like the Vader series is really cool. So I will recommend those. I think it's just called Star Wars Darth Vader, and I'm pretty sure it's still ongoing. It's gotten a couple, I think they're like 2 volumes, about 25 issues apiece, something to that effect. I haven't looked at it for a while because I like to let comics like accrue, so that I can read like either an entire series or an entire storyline like all at once. Yeah. So I don't check stuff weekly when it comes to comics.
All right.
So, plus I have so much, like, physical stuff here to actually read, too, that's kind of like,
Yeah.
But anyway, so, thanks again.
Yeah.
And, I guess that will be that. So.
Hey, thank you for stopping by, and have a nice day.
You too.